And you can turn your papers over now. Good morning everyone, welcome to our third joint meeting of our Council and the Youth Council. This year we welcome new Council elected members and also new Youth Council members following elections held over the past year. This meeting is being live streamed and will be made available on the Council website for public viewing. In terms of housekeeping, could I remind councillors and youth councillors to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting, writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. And the usual standing orders apply, including that any votes, should there be any, will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function and then join when you rejoin the meeting, so we can keep a track on whether the meeting is quorate. I'm sure that won't be an issue today. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. Mark, would you be able to provide us with some housekeeping information for the venue here at the Bridge and for anyone who may be unfamiliar?
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. To assist with the meeting, I think it would be helpful to introduce who is at the top table this afternoon and allow people to introduce themselves, just as some of the young people and youth councils may not be familiar with who is here. So I will hand over to Ellie, who will introduce herself first.
Hello, I'm Ellie Wadsworth and I'm the Chair of Dumfries Galloway Youth Council.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Dawn Roberts, I'm the Chief Executive of Dumfries Galloway Council.
Good morning everyone, I'm Linda Dorward. I'm the co-leader of the Council and Deputy Convener as well. Thank you.
Hello again, I'm Stephen Thompson, Convener of the Council and also a co-leader.
Hi, good morning. My name is Vlad Valiente, I'm the Head of Governance and Assurance.
Thanks. So today, Cameron Greer, who's the Vice Chair of the Youth Council, will be attending online on Microsoft Teams, and the meeting will be co-chaired between Councillor Thompson and Ellie as Chair of the Youth Council.
Thanks, Mark. The reports on the agenda today are testament to the hard work of all 27 youth councillors. And I think it's fair to say that leadership and expressing the voice of young people has been particularly important over this last year, so your role has been crucial. When we come to item 8 on the agenda, this will require members to break into committee-themed discussion groups, which is economy and resources, and community groups will convene in the meeting rooms adjacent to the main hall here, whilst education, skills and learning group will meet online. These sessions will be facilitated by a ward manager and youth issues support worker and will be overseen by the relevant director. Could I now invite the Chair of the Youth Council, thank you, Ellie Wadsworth, to say a few words. Over to you, Ellie.
Thank you. And just to make this meeting as accessible as possible, I'm going to describe myself for those who may be visually impaired. So I have brown curly hair that's just under shoulder length, and I'm wearing a white top that has the Youth Council logo on it. So to start off with, on behalf of all members of Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council, I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the progress that has been made since the Youth Council was established in 2019, and the continued support that members have shown throughout both terms. Young people's rights, now more than ever, are being promoted, and whilst there's still progress to make, I think it's fair to say we've come a long way in only 3 years, with a global pandemic in between. Since the last time we met in September 2021, there has been big changes in how young people are included and represented. To get a little sentimental for a moment, I was elected through a by-election in September 2020 to be one of the ward youth councillors for Mid Galloway and Wigtown West. before standing for election in November 2021. I originally stood as a candidate on a whim. I cared about standing up for young people and doing what I could to make a change. In the beginning, though, I was a lot quieter and nowhere near as confident. By being part of Youth Council, I've been able to gain confidence, find my voice, and make lots of new friends. For many of the members around the room today and online, today is your first experience of a joint meeting. The goal of today is to speak about the issues that impact young people the most and work together to create actions that will impact young people throughout the region. So with that said, I'd like to now hand back over to the convener to continue with the meeting.
Thanks very much, Ellie, and I'll take a note to consider describing myself visually for the benefit of visually impaired people in future. Sederant and apologies, that's basically who's here and who isn't for Dumfries and Galloway Council. Vlad, could you provide the Sederant and any apologies, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Convener. I can confirm we have received 4 apologies from Councillor Bell, Councillor Dryburgh, Councillor Hislop and Councillor Marshall. We have 27 members present in the hall, and we have 9 members present on Teams. Members not present at the start of the meeting is Councillor Ingalls and Councillor Ian Carruthers.
Thank you. And Ellie, would you be able to do the same for the Youth Council, please?
Mark, please, could you provide the Sederant and apologies for Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council?
We have 4 apologies also, which is Sophie Wilson, Lucy Watt, May Tang and Eva Seller. We have 17 youth councillors here in person and 6 online.
Thank you very much. Do any elected members have any declarations of interest? No? Again, over to you, Ellie.
Does any members of the Youth Council have any declarations of interest? No? I think we'll continue.
Thank you. If we go then to item 5 in the papers, which is the minute of the meeting of 8th of September 2021. This was actually approved by Dumfries and Galloway Council on the 16th of December and Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council on the 5th of October 2021, so it's here today for noting. Are we all happy to note that? Okay, thank you. Item 6 then is the purpose and work of the Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council, September 2021 to October 2022. This report requests that members agree to receive a presentation from Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council detailing the work of Youth Council since September 2021. So can we first agree to this, members? Okay, thank you. This presentation will be by Youth Councillors Riley True, Edward Christie and Finlay Anderson. So if I could now hand over to them.
So my name's Edward and I'm the Ward Youth Councillor for Abbey, and I've got long brown hair and I'm wearing a ridiculous shirt.
I am Riley True. I am the Ward Youth Councillor for Locker Ward, and I have brown hair, short brown hair, and I'm wearing a black jumper which has the Youth Council logo on it.
And I'm Finlay, and I've got short brown hair, I'm wearing glasses, and I'm also wearing the Youth Council hoodie, black Youth Council hoodie. And I'm one of the members of the Scottish Youth Parliament for Galloway and West Dumfries. Today we're going to run for a presentation with you about our time as members of Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council.
Dumfries and Galloway Youth Council was established on the 1st of April 2019 and is an elected group responsible for representing the voices and experiences of young people aged 12 to 25 who live, work and study in Dumfries and Galloway. There are 3 types of Youth Council members. The first are nominated youth councillors who are elected to represent young people from seldom heard groups. This includes a youth councillor elected to represent young carers, LGBT young people, care experienced young people with additional support needs and disabilities, ethnic minority youth, gypsy traveller young people and young parents. Then we've got ward youth councillors, with each area having 2 positions for young people to represent young people who live, work or study in their ward. Finally, we have 4 members of the Scottish Youth Parliament with 2 on each side of the region. Our MSYPs are responsible for representing young people and their voices around of Dumfries and Galloway to the nation.
The structure of the Youth Council was decided by hundreds of young people throughout Dumfries and Galloway for engagement workshops. The council had listened to young people
those actions?
The previous joint action plan that was agreed seems some actions progressed and achieved. This included the development of a youth council inquiry service inbox, securing a dedicated youth space in Newton Stewart, and a commitment to and funding for all secondary schools to go through their LGBT charter mark. However, many agreed actions were not able to be progressed. Our goal today is to discuss and agree tangible, measurable actions to improve the experiences of young people in our region over the next year. During each workshop, Youth Council members will share proposed actions for discussions by members that have been agreed and developed based on young people's feedback. Each group will have more than an hour to identify and agree on 2 to 3 actions that they believe could be progressed. At the end, all participants will come back together to feed back to the wider meeting regarding their summaries and what was agreed in the group. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, before people come in with any questions, can I just thank you for the presentation? I think it's there's a lot of themes there that elected members will recognise. Certainly the point you made about public transport and connectivity. I think barely a meeting goes by that we attend where that's not an issue that's raised or affects some of the business that that meeting relates to. So it's a point well made, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the workshops. I see Councillor Hagman wants to come in with a question.
Thank you, Convener, and thank you to everyone. I will just start because I think it is important. I have got short brown hair, I have got glasses, I'm wearing a teal cord dress, and I have got a blue hoodie. So for those that are visually impaired. So yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much to Edward and Wiley and Finlay for that presentation. I think it's so important. One of my biggest fears of having the Youth Council is it's not meaningful and it becomes a tick box exercise. And I know I've expressed this with my own ward youth councillors, and I think hearing directly from yourselves is really important as to whether you're finding this process meaningful, because unless you feel that you're making a difference, then we need to do things differently. But I would like to think we can explore that further in the workshops. I just want to say also a huge congratulations to Ellie. I want to take this opportunity if I can. As a fellow ward member, I've watched Ellie grow and flourish, and it's been such an enormous privilege to watch Ellie, so well done. I just also want to make an offer. I appreciate that the Youth Council have chosen to go into the Education Committee, and they've chosen to be at the Wigton Area Committee. Thank you, Finlay, for feeding back into our Wigton Area Committee yesterday. You're so busy, but you were still able to take the time to feed back, which was really appreciated. And as chairs of the Economy and Resources Committee, if at any point the Youth Council would like to have a representative on that committee, that's certainly something that we can look at, and we'd be happy to progress through our standing orders as an option. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and also just briefly to hear from anybody who would like to speak as to whether you feel that our Youth Council is meaningful, and do you feel that you're making a difference? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hagman. I don't know if any of the youth councillors want to respond to any of the points made there, but there's a lot of very supportive and welcoming statements. So I don't have any other hands up apart from Councillor Beretti.
Thanks, Chair. Do we have to give a visual description, because it might be a bit difficult? Only other way to describe me is follically challenged, still youthful, 64-year-old grey hair. I think that'd be okay. I noticed that the Youth Council chose Newton Stewart as part of one of the hubs. It was interesting to also note that they also mentioned transportation as one of the key issues that restricts movement or dictates their actions. So I'd like to understand why it was they chose Newton Stewart, and what are those transport needs? Plus, there is a second question. I didn't realise that the Youth Council had decided to look at some of the towns and try and get to zero carbon. What success have they had so far, and is there some way that we can see that success? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Beretti. Now, I'm wondering where to put this question. So I don't know, Ellie, if you want to maybe ask your youth councillor colleagues or pass over to Mark to maybe help direct that one. Thank you.
I think I'll pass over to Mark and then I can add if there's anything after that.
Thanks, Councillor Moretti, and thanks, Ellie. In terms of the Newton Stewart question, I'll cover that and then maybe pass some of the young people to give their experiences of the climate change question. Newton Stewart was chosen after there was an audit done of youth spaces where we had the largest populations of young people across the region, where we did not have access to youth facilities or other community facilities that we could do. And within Mid-Galloway, there was a particular issue in Newton Stewart based on the population of young people there. So there was, working with colleagues in property services, there was space identified within Macmillan Hall, which has significantly increased the amount of provision within Newton Stewart. There's still ongoing work happening within other areas and discussions with property services in terms of spaces within other areas, but across the region now it ensures that we've got an equitable provision of youth work services for young people across all areas of D&G. And I'll maybe just pass on to Ellie around who can maybe mention a wee bit about the involvement in terms of the climate change and place planning.
Yes, if any other youth councillors would like to answer this as well, feel free to put your hand up and I'll pass on to you as well. But as a youth council and as young people, we care a lot about the environment. And as a youth council, we want to be able to do what we can and push for councillors and elected members in general to take forward as well to becoming more net zero. And we, as young people, really are passionate about that and think that it's incredibly important. And I don't know if anyone else would like to come in. I see Alistair Marshall over there in the corner.
Hello, I'm Alistair. I'm one of the MSYPs for Galloway and West Dumfries. I've got short brown hair and I'm also wearing a black Youth Council hoodie. Just on the point about buses and transport, it is quite difficult for some of us to get places because of public transport. I know that Chloe and Anya had to get on the bus at 6:20 this morning from Shanrar to get here. And I think that that's such a massive issue for us to be able to carry out work, especially for some of us who are MSYPs whose work stretches across the region. And also not just for youth councillors, but also for a lot of other young people as well. It's often really difficult to get places in the region because of restrictions due to bus times.
Okay, thanks for those contributions. I hope that addresses some of your questions, Councillor Beretti, and we'll be able to pick those up in some of the sessions. Councillor Ferguson, you've got a question.
Yes, thanks. Andy Ferguson, the Councillor for North West Dumfries, or one of the councillors, you should say. Also follically challenged, and I've got a blue shirt, a red tie with blue polka dots. And I'm also the evidence not to let your wife or your partner or your mother or father cut your hair, because this is what you end up with. Okay, so on that, I'll move on to serious business here, Convener. I'm just going to pick up on what Katie was, the invitation from Katie, because I was really interested to hear that the work has been undertaken in over the last period by the Youth Council, crosses all the departments. And I know that we offered them at the time a representation on the different service committees. And I don't think we've really explored that enough. And I think we should, as a matter of policy, as a council, offer that position on each of the service committees, so that their spokespeople on those issues can actually go to the committee that actually makes the decision about them. It doesn't make any sense to me to wait for an annual or biannual review to then to talk about it. So, as I chair the Social Work Committee, there's an invitation from me and there. And I think the only thing I would ask, and I'm not sure, because I've never been in education, thank you. But do the youth councillors actually have a vote in the education committee, or are they there? They don't. And I think that's maybe something we need to look at the governance of, because I think the faith representatives can have a vote. I think some of the parent representatives can have a vote. So why can't the youth councillors have a vote? So if we're going to do it, let's do it meaningfully, and let's open it up properly so they actually can contribute fully into the debates in whatever committee that might be. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ferguson. I think I'll let Ellie speak to this. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the main reasons for think it's really positive that young people can be on these committees, but something that does set us back a little bit is the fact that we can't vote on these committees. As elected young people, we believe that that should be something that we should be able to do, and that's one of the main reasons that that we sometimes can hold back on these committees, is due to the fact that we can't vote on them. But we do really appreciate the fact that we can now observe on some of the committees.
Thanks very much for that response, Ellie. But I think what I'm actually offering, or at least I hope I can offer, it's in my gift to offer, is not just to be there and to witness, but actually participate fully. And that would, and yeah, it might be a task for Vlad to go through the governance process about whether he can actually vote or not. And we might be bound by legislation, but at least we should investigate that and see if that's actually a possibility. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Ferguson. So, and I will just pass over to Vlad on my left here, because it is something that we regularly review through our review of standing orders, as it's called, and ultimately it is up to the Youth Council what they would like to do, and then what's within our gift to permit, given legislation or other decisions that need to be made. So, Vlad, I don't know if you can add a few words to help with that one.
Yeah, just to say, convener, through you, that that can be taken up by the normal process of reviewing of standing orders and scheme of delegations, which is through that particular subcommittee, and thereafter obviously a decision would be taken by full council, similar to last time. Okay, sorry, I'll repeat that. Just to say that that will be taken through the review of standing orders subcommittee, in line with our governance, and thereafter full council can decide upon these matters, and of course we'll look at all the legalities in regards to the voting within the relevant committees that you've mentioned there.
Thanks, Vlad. I think, and obviously I think the council would never compel, I think, the Youth Council to attend something, so it's up to the Youth Council to determine, based on what's possible, what they would like to do, and we have to listen to that, I think, and try and factor that in. So I think the emphasis should be on what the Youth Council feels it's able to do or wishes to do, and we worked on that basis. Councillor Dorward, Vice Convener.
Thanks, Convener. Linda Dorward, one of the ward councillors for Locher Ward. I have short grey hair, I'm wearing a black top, a green jacket with lilac-ish piping. Thank you. It's a great idea, by the way. I think we should do this at every meeting that we have in the council, describing yourself. So well done, Ellie, for that. Thank you. Continuing with the theme of inclusivity and flexibility, one of the things that struck me, you guys have been really flexible today in taking time out, youth councillors coming today to meet us during the day. And one of the things that was spoken about in your presentation was the fact that it's difficult to attend meetings during the day because you have other commitments, educational commitments, you're at uni, whatever. So I'm wondering, and I'm going to throw this open to you guys, okay, what would be better for you to attend service committees? What timings would be better for you? And that looks at flexibility being reciprocal and working both ways. Thank you.
I'll pass over to Ellie on that one, I think.
I was just wondering if any of the youth councillors would like to come in on this from the floor. Edward?
I think it's relatively simple, because we can be quite flexible with our times that aren't there for school or education or working. So I think after traditional school hours, like after 4 o'clock or on weekends, for the vast majority of youth councillors would be perfect, because it is a commitment and it's something that we'd be willing to commit to, I think.
Thanks very much. I think we can, I'm sure we'll hopefully pick up these things as we go through the sessions, because there'll be a few actions that come out either as priorities for business plans or that we can pick up through our review of standing orders and consider through that process as well. Councillor McCammon.
Thanks, Convener. Thank you to the Youth Council for joining us today. I was very impressed with your input, and it's really important, so hopefully it continue and frequently. It's good to see that there's more, certainly in my short time as a councillor, 2.5 years, I've seen more and more involvement of the youths, which is really, really encouraging. And like I say, I hope that continues. I think it's been addressed a couple of times before in terms of youth representation on community councils, because as well as the actual local authority, I think your representation across communities is really, really important as well. And I just wondered where we are with that, because I've spoken to a couple of head teachers in high schools and certainly in my ward, and they said that they would pass that on to the youth. So I just wondered what your thoughts are on that, and if it's something you'd be interested in.
I think Finlay Anderson at the back there has a comment on this.
Could I answer that as that question there, and just the one about what would make going to committee meetings and things more available to youth council members. I think looking at my experience going to education committee, they are usually at 10:30 in the morning, and for me travelling from Newton Stewart, that is a whole day out of school. While I recognise that everybody doesn't work late, maybe having them later on in the day would be better, because even then that would give me the chance to maybe stay in school to lunch, or other youth council members, they wouldn't have to miss as much education. And answering that question about the community councils, this is actually something that I've heard about and that I've been approached about for a Cree Valley Community Council, I believe, from my head teacher, because they were really interested in that offer as well. I think it's something they are looking forward to and are interested in. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor McCallum, does that address your question? Thank you.
It does, thank you. I also forgot to say that I have brown hair, glasses, green dress, and an orange scarf.
Thank you. I've yet to describe myself, but I'll maybe leave that till later. If I now go to Councillor Jameson.
Yeah, I'm George Jameson. I'm Vice Chair of the Education Committee. I'm a very youthful 68-year-old. I've got a green top in sympathy with Celtic's hammering last night by Real Madrid. I'd just like to say I really value our two youth representatives on the Education Committee, and I'm at pains to listen to them, talk to them, because I'm 68-year-old and they're 17 and 18-year-old. So they come with an experience that's particularly relevant to the Education Committee. And one thing I try and do as well is not just meet and speak to them at every committee meeting, but try and speak to them in between committee meetings, because it's an ongoing dialogue. They're living through their school experiences, and it's really valuable for us to be aware of that and listen to them and actually act on what they say. So I think it's incredibly important if young folk want to get on other committees, but it is particularly relevant, I think, to the education and learning. I'd also like to, we've talked a bit about this, but I'm immensely impressed with these young folk that take the time to make the effort to do this. And I wonder if there's anything that we can do, even via the schools, to make time for you, because it's part of your educational process to be part of this democratic process. So I'm just wondering if there's things that we could make easier for you to even be more engaged, and to allow you time to be more engaged with your peers as well, because you're representing young people, so it would be useful if you had more time to discuss things with your peers as well. So the comment is the early bit. The question is, how can we help you find the time to do the important work that you're doing?
Thanks, Councillor Jameson. Ellie, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that initially, or you want to pass over to another youth councillor. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. And I think the one thing that was discussed about, I think Education Committee specifically, was papers being circulated more in advance for young people. As with like school commitments or other commitments, it's difficult to get them read and looked through in the time that they are being circulated. I'm not sure if anyone would like to come in on that comment further. Finlay?
Yeah, I think there was some like previous times where the papers would be released a little later, and usually we have our weekly youth council meetings on a Tuesday night, and if, for example, the papers are released on the Tuesday morning or the Wednesday the week before, then there's not the time to have a proper look through the papers and really understand what the meeting's going to be about, and then come to the Education Committee meeting with the views of young people. I think sometimes it's a bit impractical, and I think if something could be done there, then it would really help us and make us attending the meetings more effective.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Hi, thank you. I am Councillor Stevenson, elected member for North West Dumfries. Long blonde hair with a huge amount of roots just now. Brown eyes, sorry, and I'm wearing a black dress. So I just want to say thank you for Ellie for being the chair of the Youth Council, and good luck in whatever you do next. Can you hear that? Is that going away now? Good. So I just want to let you know that while we sort out the voting issue on committees, your voice is really invaluable to us as elected members, and please always get in touch if there is something that you want us to represent you on. And I think one of the challenges we have as a council and a youth council is working much closer together to ensure that we have a really good, robust plan in place to keep as many young people local as possible. So I suppose my challenge to you is to help us sort out that issue so that we can retain as much of our young people as possible in the region. And I quite support you with the issue with the papers. Sometimes it's a bit famine and feast on committees, and you can end up with a couple of committees, a lot of papers to read in a very short space of time. And I can quite imagine if you have quite a load of work from school, that would be quite an issue for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Stevenson. Some points well made, and I think again we can pick those up in the sessions. We've got a few more people wishing to speak. So, Councillor Brodie.
Thanks, Leader. I'm Richard Brodie. I'm the Chairman of the Education Committee, probably the most handsome person you've ever seen, but I'm not going to put on my camera for comment on that. I'm wearing a burgundy sweatshirt with the Devil's Porridge logo. I'm wearing that today because in a short time I've got to go and welcome pupils from the Dumfries High School to the Devil's Porridge Museum and do some educational local history for them. It's been very interesting to listen to the comments on the Education Committee. We will certainly take those comments away and discuss them seriously, especially to make sure that you've got papers and plenty of time so that you can read them before the committee meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Brodie. And I can attest to your handsomeness, even though nobody can see your picture at the moment. But I'm sure that'll be taken on board by the Education Committee and the staff supporting that. And I'm sure it's something all members would like to see papers as early as possible, more generally. So it's certainly a help to have that raised. Councillor Dougie Campbell.
Thank you, Convener. Probably the best way to describe me is wearing a grey jacket with a beard. Well, I'm wearing a beard that is badly needing trimmed. I was really delighted to hear that youth councillors are involved in the citizens panels which have been taking place across the region, and that in actual fact was an action that came from the cross-party working group. And on that subject, I wonder if I could propose that we have a youth council member of the cross-party working group to give them the ability to directly influence the council's overall journey to net zero. Thank you, Convener.
Thanks, Councillor Campbell. Ellie, do you want to speak to that one?
That's something we'll definitely take to a youth council meeting and discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we have any other questions in the... Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Councillor Drysdale.
Thank you, Convener. I would just like to acknowledge the involvement that the Youth Work Services team have had with ourselves as elected members, especially during COVID, and the communication has been excellent, in particular Mark Malloy, Kelly and Reagan, and I'm sure there's many more within this room that we'd like to thank, but certainly the communication is always very positive and instant, which is most helpful to us as elected members. I'd also like to thank Harvey and yourself, Alistair, and I think there was one other member. when you took the time out to come and meet us as elected members, and I'm sure that's happening across the region, so hopefully we can go forward. And today will be very helpful later when we meet in the breakout rooms. So thanks to all of you for your continued commitment. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Drysdale. I'm sure everybody in the room will echo that, thanks to the support and staff and all the work of the Youth Council as well. So with that, I think we'll maybe bring this item to a close. Are we happy to, well, obviously we've agreed, we've seen the presentation, but are we happy then to take on board the comments we've had subsequent to that? Are we happy to note the progress of the work Dumfries and Galloway Council, Youth Council, as outlined in the presentation, and the contribution it is making to our council priorities? Happy to note? Thank you. That takes us on to item 7. This report presents members with a youth participation and engagement strategy for agreement to underpin Dumfries and Galloway Council's priorities and commitments. So I don't know if Mark, you want to speak to this initially before we open it up to questions and debate?
No, happy to go straight to questions, Chair.
That's fine, thanks Mark. So any questions from anyone in the room or anyone attending virtually? Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Convener. Yeah, I mean, I will come in because it touches upon the point that I made at the start of in the previous item, and that's on what do we mean by participation and engagement. And it's this very ladder that I think was presented at Education Committee where we were talking about it. And I guess for me, and it's a question that, as I said, we can maybe explore in the workshops, is where do you feel that you are in this ladder of participation? Because the last thing I want us to be is at that tokenism kind of level. We want it to be meaningful, but it's something that we can take forward. And I just also, if I may, just echo Councillor Drysdale's point that our youth team, our staff are incredible, and they've helped pull this strategy together. And without that youth work staff, and I know there was comments about made by weekends, our youth team are out evenings, weekends, you know, they're available to our young people, and I think it's so important that we acknowledge that as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hagman. I think I don't see any other questions or comments beyond that. So if we just go to the recommendations, so note the positive involvement of young people and the wider stakeholders in the development of the strategy. Happy to note. Thank you. Agree the youth participation and youth engagement strategy 2022-27 as set out in the appendix. Happy to agree. Thank you. And agree to receive an annual performance report at the Council's Communities Committee as detailed in section 3.4. Happy to agree that. Great stuff. Thank you. Okay, takes us on to item 8. I think this is over to you, Ellie, to introduce this. Thank you.
So item number 8 is developing a shared action plan, so it's from 2022 to 2024. I think this is a bit everyone's most excited for today. Well, it is for me anyway. So this report provides members with details of the arrangements for developing a shared thematic action plan between Dumfries and Galloway Council and the Youth Council. Elected members and youth councillors will be divided into 3 different groups that are identifiable by members' labels. So we all have labels on that have where we're going and what group we're in. All members attend an education committee, online or hybrid. The economy and resources and communities groups will move into one of the breakout spaces that sit adjacent to the main hall. As previously mentioned, these sessions will be facilitated by a youth issues worker and a ward manager and are overseen by the relevant director.
Thanks, Ellie. All members will spend the hour and 30 minutes in their committee-themed breakout session. That's before coming back together in this hall to feedback a maximum of 3 actions to be progressed over the coming year. And following on from the breakout session, if all groups will feed back their identified action to the wider membership so that everybody kind of knows what everybody else has done. I would like to ask for members of the Education and Learning group to join the separate Teams link for their breakout discussion. So there should be something in your device that allows you to join a separate meeting. So if you can do that. And then also, if I could ask all members of the communities group to follow Paul Chisholm to room G09. You can see Paul waving his hand over there. So if you can follow Paul, and I'll join you. I think that's you. I'm in a different one.
That's me.
Yep. So I'll let everybody move with Paul just now, and then I'll go into the next bit. Okay, I think that's most people move to that group. So if all members of the Economy Resources group, that's G60 on your badge. If you follow Cara Hiles, Cara's over there waving at the moment. And finally, okay. And finally, could I ask for the Education and Learning Group hybrid to follow Rebecca McClymont to F11 upstairs? Rebecca, oh, she's over there. Okay, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had some interesting sessions. I know there were some good discussions in the group I was in anyway, and a lot of good points were made. We're going to receive feedback from each of the groups about the actions they're proposing. So firstly, if I go to the communities group to provide their feedback. So who have we got for Ellie?
That's me. So we decided on 3 actions plus 1 kind of side action that's come from this. So, and all the actions were either unanimous or very close to being unanimously voted for. So the first, I'll go on to the action that's not officially an action, but it's something that is going to be looked into. And it's the action about having youth hustings and hustings held in council facilities run by Youth Council. This is an action that is going to be looked into further to see if the legal side of it, to see if it can actually happen. And if it can't be, then it'll be scrapped. And if it can be taken to the next full council meeting next year. So it's just kind of like a side action. So the actions that actually got voted for, the first one is automatic enrolment for young people to receive their under 22 free bus travel card through schools. So a little bit of background is the free travel was introduced back in January 2022, but the process to apply for this has been really difficult. And the uptake in Dumfries and Galloway is only 37.2%, which is quite low, well, really low compared to other areas. And it's been proven in other areas that this automatic enrolment through secondary schools has made the uptake a lot higher. So this would allow people in secondary school to automatically be enrolled with parents' permission to save that middle section of it taking forever to work. So that's the first one that was unanimously voted for. The second one was a creation of a taster card for young people aged 12 to 18 that enables them to access 12 to 3 leisure sessions per year for free. So this was also very, very supportive. So a little bit of background is, as everyone knows, at the moment, there's struggles around income and being able to afford things. So this would allow everyone, no matter how much income, between these age groups to access 12 free, like for example, swimming or the gym or ice skating, to try it out, to see if they enjoy it, to then go further with it. And this is, in the summer memberships that were funded were proved really popular and were actually oversubscribed. So we know that there is a demand for young people to have this taster session. So yeah, that was the second action that was proposed, that was voted for. And the third action that we voted for was, what's on my page? Was a trial of a late night opening for library facilities for students studying for exams between March and June 2022. And then if this trial was successful, it would be a case of looking to have this implemented every year and all year round. So this would just be a trial to start off with, to see if young people actually engaged and used these facilities. As libraries at the moment aren't actually open that much past school hours, so for studying it's really difficult. And some people may not feel comfortable studying at home or have the right environment, so this would give those young people the opportunity to study outside of their house. Like I say, this is just to look to see if it gets a good uptake and to see if it could be implemented even further. And as a group, we also discussed this maybe being expanded to not just libraries, but also school facilities where there's free Wi-Fi and also like access to computers and books for free. So that was our third action. And I just want to say that in our group, we had really good discussion with really good contributions. And thank you everyone for joining the communities group and inputting your opinions. So thank you.
That's great, thank you, Elliot, and I'm glad the group went well. We'll go quickly on to the Economy and Resources group to feedback. I think this might be Orla.
Yes, so in our committee we found that although very important, 2 of our proposed action had to be passed on to other committees. Number 1 being introducing options for S4 to S6 students to receive free school meal payments in cash or via bank transfer instead of through the Young Scot card. We had to pass this on to education as it fit more predominantly in them. And number 2 being our 4th action, which was to create a need-to-know independent living guide for young people. We passed this on to communities, although it is placed quite closely with number 2. For our 3 main commitments, our first one was a campaign aimed at under 16s related to employment rights and what to expect in the workplace. This was found that it was quite a big issue through employment and if there was health and safety and insurance rights, and so young people would be able to find out if they are able to work in certain places and if it is safe and protected for them to work in places, along with finding out if they are getting paid correctly. So we found that one quite loud. The second one, our second main one being Wi-Fi being available in all council facilities, including town halls, libraries and public offices. This one was brought up as it is found it's no longer a luxury for Wi-Fi, and it also goes into the communities one where students, obviously they're doing the trial, library opens, if there was Wi-Fi readily available, it would obviously bring in more young people and help them study outside of home if not comfortable. Our third one being creating dedicated youth spaces within existing council buildings in the Stewartry, Mid and Upper Nithsdale. This was found quite important as it would bring more young people off the streets, give them a safe place to go during non-school hours, and would also bring in a lot, would also help with communities as there is buildings and spaces unused, although not used at all by youth work, even though it could be. So those are our main three. Thank you to everyone that contributed, and it was great discussions.
Thanks, Orla. And then finally, if I go to the education and learning group to feedback. I'm not sure who the person is that's doing that, but...
So our actions that we agreed on, our first action was the auto enrolment for under 22s with a bus travel card through schools. That was found to be important because there was issues for a lot of young people when applying for that. The second proposed action was that for 60% of school staff to undertake SAMH mental health training. That was modified slightly as it couldn't be made mandatory for teaching staff to undertake that, but for having it to be more encouraged for teachers to get more awareness in mental health off their own backs. And the third proposed action was the disabled accessibility issues in schools, for reviews to be taking place for the schools to deem whether they are fit for purpose, and that all schools may be forced to comply under Article 28 of the UNCRC. So that was our three proposed actions, and there was great discussions for all of them.
Okay, thank you very much. We had a wee technical issue there. I don't know, Ellie, if you want to say just a few words on that. Thank you.
I think all the actions that have been put forward and voted for are all really important, and I really look forward to seeing the outcomes of what happens with these actions. And thank you to Ola and Murray for contributing and feeding back from the groups.
Thanks, Ellie. So I'll open this up for debate. Should we need any? I think we've had a good airing in the sessions, and obviously we've got some agreed actions from each of the groups. But is there anything any of the youth councillors or councillors here would like to add? Okay, I think we've probably satisfied ourselves with our discussions today. In that case, can we agree then to submit the proposed actions to the appropriate committee or service for consideration with a report on progress to the full council meeting in mid-2023? Excellent. I don't have any other urgent business for today. So with that, I'll invite the Vice Chair of the Youth Council to say some closing remarks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cameron Greer. I'm the Vice Chair of Dumfries Galloway Youth Council. I've got dyed red hair, glasses, and I'm wearing my Youth Council black hoodie. As this meeting comes to a close, so too does mine and Ellie's term on Dumfries Galloway Youth Council. As someone who was elected in the first ever cohort in April 2019, I've seen in real time just how far our organisation has come. We've built a reputable organisation that has made a lot of positive change for young people while constantly increasing the level and reach of youth democracy and participation in Dumfries and Galloway. I've had the privilege of being a youth councillor and MSYP, both roles I've loved, and that gives me a unique insight into what is, in my opinion, the most democratic and representative elected youth council in the country, and if not, the world. Before I go, I have a few outgoing messages. First to the youth councillors. Please keep our legacy going. We're doing such a great job for young people in Dumfries and Galloway. Keep pushing for change and please don't stop. Second, to youth work and all the staff. Thank you for facilitating the Youth Council for the past 3 years. Youth work really does change lives, and it certainly has changed my life for the better. And please listen to young people. Make the effort to meet young people and take us seriously. Use the Youth Council as a medium for youth engagement. We are elected to represent young people after all. And finally, I'll leave you with this. It's often said that young people are the future, and while that may be true, we're also the now. Thank you.
Well said, and thank you for that. So I have just a few words to round things off. So if I could thank everyone for their participation in making this joint meeting a success. I think it has been. It's been extremely positive to hear the progress made across all 3 reports. Our council is committed to following up on the actions that are in the action plan and will continue to progress them in liaison with the Youth Council. If I could just conclude by thanking each and every one of our youth councillors for your commitment, drive and passion, and we look forward to following up agreed actions and joint working over the next term. Thank you all.